Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday to one and to all. Hi there, April. How are you? Happy Saturday. And thank you for a moment to stop by. I will drop the link later if anyone has anything they would like to offer once I am complete. But again, welcome April Showers. Hopefully you are doing well on this Saturday. Hopefully everyone is doing well on this Saturday. And happy Sunday to those listening from abroad. So the first thing I wanted to speak about really quickly is etiquette and decorum. And I mean that in the sense of if you reach out, and I have always, or at least I believe I have made it possible, where you can reach out to me if there's something you need to ask, if there's something that I could possibly do. There's not a lot I can do, but I can attempt to at least exercise a little bit of decorum and etiquette about yourself. Learn how to greet someone. When I reach out to people, most of the time it is to extend for something that I am working on. And if they're not available nor interested, I let them know that is also fine, and I harbor absolutely no resentment. There's no reason to be resentful. There are things that other people are trying to do, and quite frankly, they may not be interested in what you're doing. That's their right, and it's okay. But for those that do reach out, and if there is an underlying motive, which appears to me it's been the case with a particular individual. I felt it in the beginning, but I didn't know for sure. I do now because I don't listen to what others say about other people. I have to make that determination on my own. If there is a motive, just say it. Don't beat around the bush. We are now, the majority of us, are too old for that. So again, if there is something that you want from me, meaning something you think I may be able to do or a connect, just say it. And if I ask for clarity, and that's another thing, I'm not able to help if I'm not clear upon what it is you're saying. Don't get an attitude. Sometimes when we write, sometimes when we speak, the other person doesn't receive it the way it's supposed to be received. And when you end a communication, have enough respect and courtesy to at least say thank you or take care, not just abruptly end the communication, because that speaks volumes as well. We are expecting a little bit of rain here, so I may have issues with this internet. I did earlier. I was supposed to go on earlier and wasn't able to do that. Second thing, some of you, not all, but some of you truly have delusions of grandeur. And for those of you who may not know the textbook definition, that's basically a false belief that you have this extraordinary power, wealth, or intelligence That can be argued, but I'm not here to do that. I'm not here to do that. But I wanted to bring that to mind. Because sometimes the people who have a following, because they may not understand certain things, the one that's speaking or presenting, it may appear to be more than what they are. I've said this many times as well. Titles mean absolutely nothing. And there is corruption everywhere. Earlier this week, actually this has been going on for a bit, and I'm just going to touch on a portion of it briefly so that people will understand. There's a situation that occurred, and the individual is receiving their just due. There are many people that feel absolutely that justice wasn't served. And I have said in videos in the past, I've spoken on certain things. Justice isn't always served, and no matter how something may appear to be a slam dunk, that's not always the case. There are people that will present to you that they are advocates or staunch supporters of certain injustices. My question to those individuals: what is it you have done to show that can be verified and that's documented? I am doing well, April. I celebrated my 3-month anniversary being out of the hospital, and even though I still have a few challenges, as you can tell by my voice, I'm actually doing better. So I'm still on the mend, but getting back in the swing of things, trying to get some videos up and working on some other projects. So the question is, to those that show and state that they're fighting for certain things, they stand for certain things, where is the tangible proof that you've done any of that? I said this yesterday, and I'm going to say it again. We can say anything by way of a keyboard, but as far as actions are concerned, what have you done? And maybe you have done things. I'm just asking, where is that so people can see? Some people can pull information. Some people can even display things on their community walls. But that does not mean you are actually doing the work. There are some people that speak about being politicians. And if that's the case, anyone can put their name. Anyone and contribute to their own cause and have a few other people contribute to it. But that does not make you a politician. What evidence, and again, you may have it, but sometimes it's best to show rather than just tell, that you try to enforce or even bring to the attention legislation to help victims of the same things that you claim you have experienced. No, I am not implying or stating that people that say they've gone through things haven't. I'm just stating it's odd to me that other than speaking about it, nothing else appears to have been done. Now, yes, I understand certain things can trigger people. But what I don't understand, and maybe I need to research that more because I understand people handle things in a different way. But when it comes to SA, that is a trigger for many people. I don't understand how someone or others, there are many people that do this, will plop their fat asses on panels and speak about things in the most vulgar and vile ways. And from my optics, I don't see any triggers. Delusions of grandeur. Again, false belief that someone has an extraordinary power, wealth, or intelligence. Now back to the issue I was speaking about earlier. For many of you in the sector that's been following things, it appears that an individual did not receive the justice due to them. Hold on for 1 second. That. So, justice, especially in the state of Maryland, and for those that have followed me, this is documented. And that's the key word I'm going to continue to use. I've spoken on these things many times. And often there are some people that believe they are above the law. There are some who believe that they run certain things. You don't. You really don't. But I am not going backwards and forth with an adult. I'm just going to show evidence of such. And also, I will have people who actually are out there, boots to the ground, that are doing the work. There was a horrible, horrible case in Maryland. You can research this yourself, but it was a domestic violence case in reference to a woman by the name of Yvette Cade. I'm afraid to try to share the screen because sometimes when I try to show videos, it'll hang up. So if that happens, I'll just have to speak on it, and you can go ahead and read up on it. First, I want to do this. This is the one I want to do first. Baltimore teen, and I actually reported on this as well. There was a Baltimore teen who was accused of rape, 14 years old. But Maryland law allowed that individual to attend high school. I didn't see that in a particular presentation. Perhaps you didn't know. Perhaps there's a particular agenda there. It's fair use. Baltimore, WBFF, the mother of a victim, has come forward with a terrifying warning for parents. Maryland has allowed her daughters, you can read that, but I'll just say rapist, to attend a Baltimore City public school. Project Baltimore is not identifying the mother to protect the child. Let me read that one more time. Project Baltimore is not identifying the mother to protect her child. To be prudent and responsible in speaking about cases such as these, it would behoove you to ensure protected. Take it how you want, but this is serious here. The mother says she struggles, she's in therapy. I wouldn't wish what we have gone through on my worst enemy. So I'm going to stop sharing that. That was in the state of Maryland. So contrary to the belief or beliefs of some, I've been on top of certain things, and I've actually spoke on them. Have you? Next, what I wanted to get to, again, and I referenced this in my video, Yvette Cade. Hey there, enemies public. Drop the link later if you would like to come up and speak. You are a strong brother, and you're not one that just blows smoke out backside. You actually stand on what it is that you say, and I appreciate that. Yvette Cade is another case that happened in Maryland. She went to the Maryland courts seeking a protection order from her husband, who she knew was trying to delete her. I have a video in my video bucket. I'm just going to go over this briefly. No worries, I am definitely going somewhere with this. Fair use. And I'm just going to show briefly. Now you can see in the title, domestic violence survivor Yvette Cade speaks out about Rockville. You can see what happened. Now Yvette Cade, as I said, went to the courts in Maryland seeking a protection order. That order, despite all of the evidence she had to present, was denied. 3 weeks later, her husband went to her place of employment, doused. She suffered burns over 60% of her body. She survived. She's an advocate now, but she's permanently scarred for life as a result. Now, this happened in 2012 to another individual, Heather McGuire, who succumbed from an injury to her Connecticut to this particular case. That too did go in the favor of the person seeking help. For Cade, physical injuries have weakened her immune system. She struggles with anxiety, PTSD, and constant fears of fire. So again, those who are struggling Okay, my apologies about that. I knew that would happen, but I'm not sure how much you all were able to hear. But as I said, for those of you that talk certain things and say certain things, um, instead of jumping, as I mentioned, your ass is up on platforms. What are you actually out there doing as far as speaking in front of groups that have experienced these types of traumas? Because certainly, if you can engage in conversations that are adult in nature and you're not triggered by those, then you should, in my opinion, be able to do the same, where it could actually benefit those who truly suffered from these types of traumatic events. Next thing, and this is the last, and let me go ahead and drop this just in case someone has to or would like to add to it. This same judge in the Yvette Cade case, who denied her protection order, and as a result, her husband came to her place of work, as I mentioned, and doused her with flammable liquid, basically changing her life forever. That's not the worst part. That's bad enough, but I just want to illustrate to many of you who think you know a great deal of things that go on, and you don't, at least in certain areas you don't, because it hasn't been spoken upon. There are people, and that's why I mentioned delusions of grandeur earlier. Hey there, Big Dog Billy, how are you? That's why I spoke on delusions of grandeur earlier, where there are people who actually think they are above all. You're human. You are absolutely not above all. And this particular piece, I'm going to attempt to show, because I am definitely looking into the Sonia Massey case. I've been speaking about this for a while now, so I don't want to hear that's just popped up. No, I've been speaking about this for a while and putting some things together. But this is an example of corruption. And before I present this, I would just like to say this to those who have this outrage, this recent case that most of us in this sector knows about. If you are that enraged, if you've done so much homework outside pulling documents, because as I said, anybody can pull a document, but if you don't know what you're reading, if you cannot intelligently explain that to your followers, and if you don't take an extra step other than saying what you stand for, To me, and this is just my opinion, and it's absolutely no disrespect, but I am speaking truth. And again, as I mentioned, truth is a pill that many seek, but it is hard to swallow. If there's so much outrage, and now I'm speaking to the women, why haven't, or maybe you have, and I'm not aware of it, but why don't you, if you haven't, contacted the board to let them know you are unhappy with the judge's decision in that case? You do know you can do that. Was that option even provided during the presentation? I don't know whether it was or not, because I didn't listen. I just heard the very beginning, and I'm like, okay, there's some confusion here and misunderstanding. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, not even argument, but discussion, it wasn't presented as an option. What does that say to you? Is there a website or telephone number provided for anyone? And again, it could have been, I don't know. I'm just asking those that have experienced this type of abuse. Where to go for help, who to speak to. And if you are upset about the decision, let me repeat, those people absolutely can be reported in the form of a complaint. As I said, I do not know if that was done. Highly unlikely. Again, I could be wrong. But if I am not wrong, just something to think about. So this is the last screen I am going to share. Again, the link is there if anyone has anything they would like to say. I doubt very seriously if they do, but I like to be thorough and present everything so there's no misunderstandings, and to show I have information, I have cases to reference. Not just paperwork. Judge Palumbo. Again, fair use. And for those of you who are in here, your eyes are not deceiving you. And those who catch the replay, pay attention. Pay attention. And these are the things that those who plan to vote and I'm speaking on the local levels. These are the things that need to be brought to the forefront. Again, fair use. And this was the judge in Yvette Cade's case. Yvette Cade, again, was a woman who was burned by her husband because this judge in Maryland denied her request for protection. Prince George's County, Maryland, District Court Judge Richard Palumbo, 67, caused an accident in Port Tobacco. State police, and I do hope you're paying attention to this, state police have refused to cite him for the incident. According to police reports cited by the Washington Post, Palumbo was driving on Chapel Point Road in a 2002 Ford F-150 belonging to a cement company. At around 1:00 p.m., Palumbo failed to yield the right-of-way and turned left into a Nissan Xterra, causing enough damage that the vehicle was undrivable. According to this report, and again, this is not me, this is the report, Palumbo intimidated her and urged her not to call the police. And I quote, "I'm a judge. You're going to be in trouble." Further, this is not the first time Maryland State Police have let Palumbo go free. On February the 17th, a state trooper voided a $140 speeding ticket he had given to Palumbo in Mitchellville for driving 59 miles per hour in a 35 mile per hour zone. The officer wrote in a memo to his superior on February the 17th, 2004. The listed citation was issued to Judge Palumbo from Prince George's Court. Please void citation. Thanks for your consideration in this matter. Now, according to reports, Palumbo served as a state legislator from 1979 to 1983. Again, this information, for those of you who are interested, can be found in the Washington Post, 10/28/2005. Again, I am going to read this disturbing little piece of information. Again, do your research. Do your research. The officer wrote in a memo to his superior on February 17th, 2004, The listed citation was issued to Judge Palumbo from Prince George's Court. Please void citation. Thanks for your consideration in this matter. Now, if that is not ego or entitlement, what is? What is? We have, in my opinion, a serious issue as it relates to narcissism. People who think, who believe they have so much power because of their titles. There are some of you out there that believe there are certain people that indeed have titles when they really don't. You can research Prince George's County Judge Richard Palumbo and find out what happened to him. As I said, nobody is above the law. That is why there are boards to report misconduct, ethics violations, and things of that matter. This is a judge, and allegedly, according to that story, I repeat, according to that story, intimidated the individual with whom he had an accident. And according to that story, I repeat, according to that story, the officer who issued a ticket at a later time asked that that ticket go away because that was a judge. So, if these allegations are absolutely true, is it possible for those of you that are watching the Young Thug YSL circus of a case in Georgia, that some strange things may be going on there? I have never seen a case where there has been recusals, people stepping down. It's a circus. Those of you who are following the Sonia Massey case, and some of the same questions I had when I first started my lives watching this, other people are starting to ask some of the same questions. How did Sean Grayson get this job with the alleged issues he had. There is on record a divorce filing. Whether it cites any type of domestic issues, I have absolutely no clue. And if I did, I would not repeat it nor share it. But in my opinion, from what I heard, there was definitely aggression in the voice. The video that I put up of his booking, and I've always said, pay attention to body language. Body language is silent, but it speaks volumes. There is an allegation, and I actually located that person, and the allegation is this individual was arrested for drugs. And let's just say the allegations state that there may have been some appropriate behavior by Sean Grayson. Keep in mind, this happened when he was employed with Logan County. Logan County has been tight-lipped throughout this entire ordeal. And as I mentioned, I reached out to them. They're not giving any statements. At least that was told to me and other news outlets. And if they do, most likely it would be in the form of a social media statement. Jack Campbell, the sheriff of Sangamon County, where Sean Grayson, former deputy, after repeated requests from family, friends, loved ones to step down, he was adamant that he was not going to. Governor J.B. Pritzker also encouraged Jack Campbell to step down. Jack Campbell decided, because of all the attention and other things that were affecting his life and the life of his family, that he was going to resign no later than August 31st, 2024. In that video, I also looked at Governor. Hey there, Stock Explorer. I also looked at Governor J.B. Pritzker, who happens to be a very, very wealthy man. Who has a company or two. So I started to dig a little bit deeper. And I like to look at campaign contributions. Who's giving what and to whom? Now, I also mentioned that Governor Pritzker at one time was the potential running mate pick for VP Kamala Harris. So when you're looking at some of these cases, when you're truly looking in to some of these cases, don't just, and again, please, don't get offended. I'm only being honest, and I have to be. Don't just pull documents. Explain them. Connect the dots. See if there is any connections. See if there's any influence. You may be surprised as to what you may find if you take the time to do the research. When I'm not working or resting, I do a lot of research. I'm on the phone speaking to people that know a lot more than I do. And I learn from those individuals where else to look for certain things. Some things I still remember, but there are new things out there that I'm not aware of. So keep those things in mind as well. There are, in my opinion, agendas. Some may be for, some may be against. But it would behoove you to actually know policies and how individuals feel when it comes to how some of these policies will affect you and the young people coming behind you. Those are the discussions that need to be held. How to bring legislation for stiffer penalties for SA cases, especially those including minors. Anyone, in my opinion, can sound the alarm. But actually going out and doing the work That would be my question. Well, what are you doing about it? Or how can I get involved with helping? Forming a think tank where you put in ideas with respect to the states for which you reside, what you would see or would like to see on the ballot. The point I'm trying to make is, unfortunately, and this is everywhere, you see it on TV, people, my mom used to say, with hem and haw, to get the attention of the people. But if the actions don't follow, you should question yourself. What is or what are the motives? I've seen many GoFundMes for many things. Has anyone put up a GoFundMe for certain cases? Or thought about putting up a GoFundMe for minor victims? Or are some people just talking? Same thing with the Sonia Massey case. I've seen vigils, I've seen people out there, but have you, those that have attended these vigils, put up anything in support of this tragedy? Or are you just talking about it and raising your voice so that your audience will feel as though you're being passionate about it? And I'm not saying that people are not, but I'm asking, where are the actions after speaking loudly and talking about it? I've been to Annapolis plenty of times. I've been on the phone plenty of times. These things are not easy. You can call and get placed on a calendar, and months will pass, and you still won't get a response. So, the next best thing to do is go to the State House. More than likely, you'll be told that isn't proper protocol, and you'll be sent on your merry way, but at least you made a concerted effort to do something rather than just speak about it. Have you contributed to the Victims Fund? If you have, show those receipts. Show the people that you're just not talking for clicks and views. You actually care. You are actually an advocate. Don't be confused or tricked by savvy words of individuals, both men and women, especially a lot of women. If your actions do not align with your words, that should signal a red flag. Research, thorough research, takes a lot of time. As I said, to connect dots, to look at campaign contributions, to look at companies, to see who may be on the board of directors for some of these companies. For those that I tend to listen to, those things are not discussed. That also speaks volumes. So in that sense, because that's something that I do, it's something that I've done in the past, that absolutely qualifies me to speak on certain subjects without hesitation or without fear that what I'm saying is incorrect. In light of what we've seen in the Sonia Massey case and how Sean Grayson was able to remain employed as a law enforcement officer despite personnel records. That, in my opinion, should not stop with Sheriff Jack Campbell retiring because he was compelled to do so. The governor as well should be looked at. And I feel strongly that in many of these cases, if you honestly are following the breadcrumbs, some of these same questions would be asked. You don't know who knows who, what, if any. I'm not saying there have been, but you don't know if promises or incentives may have been put on the table for certain individuals. Many of us are not privy to what goes on behind the scenes for many, many cases. We're just not. What I just showed you in reference to Richard Palumbo, the judge in Maryland, you wouldn't have known about those tickets. I would wonder, with that being made public, and if those allegations are indeed true, if an audit was even requested for that officer or any officers, if they've done the same thing. I'm not a betting person, but I would believe beyond shadow of a doubt that wasn't the first time. Not at all. Back to J.B. Pritzker. Illinois has also been in the news quite a bit, as well as Fulton County, Georgia. Dalton, the village of Dalton, Illinois. And the mayor, Tiffany Henyard, definitely has received an exorbitant amount of attention. Are there any connections there? As I said, Pritzker is a very, very wealthy man. And again, I have made no statement whatsoever to connect the two. I'm asking questions because of all of the research, all of the documentation that has been presented, and no action has been taken as of yet. That makes me wonder, why? Fulton County, Young Thug YSL case. The longest running case in Georgia history. And the shenanigans that have taken place during these past few months. And for me, that Brady violation, and I'm referencing the June 10th meeting where the defense wasn't privy. It's unheard of. And it says a lot, in my opinion, about the judicial system in Fulton County. There are many people that have been covering that case. There's a new judge, and I'm not going to say she's biased. I just believe that she's been giving a, and I want to keep this clean, she's been given a pile of you know what to have to sort through and get a clear understanding. Now, as it relates to timing, that too can be a factor. I'm not saying that it is, but it could be a factor. All jurisdictions are different, but always remember, when you are in an election year, strange things happen. Things such as pardons, early release, immunity, just pay attention, depending upon what jurisdiction you're in. And again, those who choose to exercise their right to vote, and this is just a suggestion, be sure it's because of policies you believe in, not because of disdain for another party, and definitely not because of the color of one's skin or gender. It's policies. And with that, I am going to end this stream as I try and will continue to try and make an effort in the future to assure individuals, because sometimes things can be misconstrued. It is never my intent to hurt or harm or discredit anyone. But if I see something and I know for sure it is incorrect, I'll speak up, especially if it's something that can avoid individuals from facing certain type of harm in the future. And I don't mean in a physical sense, as I mentioned earlier. I'm speaking about civilly. I'm always going to do my best to reference what it is I'm speaking of, so the audience, whether they're live or catching the replay, can go back to and understand what it is I said and why I said, or why I may not have said something. I will also challenge those who say or reference their stance on certain issues to show the work. Show what contributions have been made. Show any speaking engagements to the victims or victims groups. Speaking about it online is fine, but it should not just stop there. If you truly are about your word, in my opinion. But there will be someone on soon that will actually show what those things mean. So you don't have to take my word for it. I'd rather you not. I'd rather you take the word of those who are actually doing the work. Enjoy your Saturday or your Sunday, depending upon where you are on the globe. And until next video, everyone be safe, be well, and be healthier. That information I provided earlier is extremely, extremely important, because certain states have definitely failed women. I just showed two examples of how that was done. I've shown examples of the ego, the entitlement of a judge, allegedly. Again, and I've said this many times, titles mean nothing if your integrity doesn't match. Have you checked the temperature of your integrity lately?